Been trying to get this business right for some years, but who really cares? Incorporated my company with 100 million shares, but who really cares? I taught myself to wholesale real estate in about a year, but who really cares? My trust revocable for the benefit of a chosen few, but who really there? Who really there? You?
What's going on, YouTube? It's your man Wilk, Corpsumer Inc., Real Estate and Lifestyles channel. Want to welcome y'all back. Today's topic is going to be the market crash mechanism. Okay? The market crash mechanism. There's a lot of talks about the real estate market crashing. There's a lot of talks about the stock market crashing. So let's get right into it. All right? So, first thing we're going to talk about is socialism versus capitalism. Okay. Socialism is a populist economic and political system based on collective and common or public ownership of the means of production. All right. Those means of production include the machinery, tools, and factories used to produce goods that aim to directly satisfy human needs. In contrast to capitalism, whereby business owners control the means of production and pay wages to workers to use those means, socialism envisions shared ownership and control among the laboring class. Okay? Capitalism is based on individual initiative and favors market mechanisms over government intervention. All right? While socialism, it is based on government planning and limitations on private control of resources. Okay? So that's what we're dealing with here. The reason why we are even here again is because there were some talks about the Biden administration and how everything that they're doing regarding the mortgage rule is against what so-called capitalists thinks is appropriate, fair, honorable. You know, all those things. Capitalists are very upset with this. So, it's very interesting to see how this is going to play out. So, again, that's why we're here. And the market mechanism is something that is involved in a lot of different systems that we use on a day-to-day life. But again, that's for another time. Um, so to get into the market mechanism links the actions of the three economic agents: consumers, producers, and owners of the factors of production. Okay. The market mechanism is also called the free market system. It is the situation where decisions on price and quantity in a market are made based on demand and supply alone. We also refer to this as the price mechanism. So the functions of the price mechanism, all right, or the market mechanism, all right. The functions of the market mechanism spring into actions when there is a disequilibrium in the market. Disequilibrium in the market occurs when the market fails to find its equilibrium point. Okay? Disequilibrium in the market happens when demand is greater than supply, excess supply, or supply is greater than demand, excess supply. Okay? So, again, demand is greater than supply, that's excess demand. Supply is greater than demand, that's excess to supply. Sounds a little tongue twistering, even got me tongue twisted, but again, we'll get through it together. So the market mechanism has three functions: the signaling, incentive, and rationing functions. Okay, those are the functions of the market mechanism. All right. The reason why we're even here again is because there's some signaling going on. If you ask me, um, you know, there's a few things going on in which we should be very, very, concerned about. There's incentive going on and there's rationing going on. So if you can't tell me that the marketing mechanism isn't at work, then you can just put it in the comment section. Put down there that it's not at work. Just put no work. Put no job. Right? So yeah, man, let's get back to it. So, the market mechanism, all right? Allocation of resources and the market mechanism, they go hand in hand, okay? The relationship between supply and demand plays a very, very important role in deciding how scarce resources are allocated. So when there's an excess supply, it's not rational for scarce resources to be used for this good or service if there isn't much demand for it. I would agree with that. When there is excess demand, it's rational to use scarce resources for this good or service because consumers want it. They're willing to pay for it. So when the people want it, you definitely want to be able to provide it because it's going to be no questions about whether or not they have the funds for it. And if you're about profit, then that's the way that you would love things to be all the time. So each time there is a disequilibrium, the mechanism allows the market to move to a new equilibrium point. Okay, the reallocation of resources that takes place with the market mechanism is done by the invisible hand. All right, which means that it's done without the involvement of the government. Okay, the invisible hand, it refers to the unobservable market force that helps the demand and supply of goods in the free market reach equilibrium automatically. Okay, so in my opinion, um, it sounds like we just need some good people out there who's willing to be, producers that's willing to give you a net 30, that's willing to give you a net 60, willing to give you a net 90, willing to give you a net 120. Ask about what these things are. I feel like basically what we're looking for on things like this is to become more familiar as business owners with invoicing, one another for goods or services. So that way we can allow the consumers to take advantage of our discounts that we receive between each other. That's just in my opinion. Leave a comment if you think that's a good idea. Okay, so let's get back to it. All right, so advantages and disadvantages of the market mechanism. All right, now market mechanism, this is actually a microeconomic theory. So again, keep that in mind. But it's a good topic. It's a great situation, I feel like, and I feel like it's directly correlated to what's going on right now. So again, they're both advantages and disadvantages, right? So the market mechanism is no exception to this, okay? None whatsoever. The advantages, let's get into it. Some advantages of the market mechanism: allocative efficient, okay? Which means the market mechanism allows the free market to distribute goods and services efficiently without much waste, and it benefits society as a whole. Okay, another advantage is that it signals to investment. So the market mechanism signals to firms and investors which goods and services are profitable, and thus where they should invest and where they shouldn't. Right? That makes sense. So if you're an investor, then you're looking for the signs. You're looking for, hey, I see that people are actually asking for some, this product or this service more often than none. I see a lot more people are looking for, a certain, it could be anything, but you just have to be aware of what it is that is the necessity, excuse me, the necessity of the time, So again, signals investment. So the market mechanism, it signals to firms and investors which goods and services are profitable and thus where they should invest and where they shouldn't. Okay. And also another advantage, no government intervention. I know a lot of people, they probably prefer that. You got a lot of people live off grid, things like that, or wish they could, because they don't want to be interrupted by the government in any way, shape, or form. So, in order to not be interrupted by the government, you need to be able to make sure you understand what the market mechanisms are and what's needed in order to have a structural economic system. Okay? So, no government intervention. Good and services are provided based on the invisible hand. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Goods and services are provided based on the invisible hand. Producers are free to produce whatever they want, and consumers are free to buy whatever they want without the need for government intervention, right? So that's kind of what happens now. And like we said, there's signals to investment when you start paying attention to what the consumers are buying and what they're not buying. So if consumers are buying this, investors are going to buy this, and then the allocation is going to go to wherever the consumer wants. So that way the investor can take advantage of that. So, that's what's happening right now. This is what's happening. Disadvantages of the market mechanism. Okay? Disadvantage of the market mechanism, market failure. All right? Terrifying. It definitely is. Where there's no profit incentive to produce a particular good or service. Services like healthcare or education, producers will not produce it, even if there's a necessity for it or high demand. And because of this, many vital goods and services are underproduced by the free market, thus leading to market failure. So again, people aren't involved in the right businesses. I say this all the time. You know, if you're not working for yourself, in this day and age, then you end up probably doing something that you don't want to do and that you're not passionate about, because it's somebody else's goal, it was somebody else's dream. It's created, and now you're, the consumer, on their end. You're playing your certain part in the market mechanism, and you're not the producer, though. So that's, you want to be at least where the producers are. You don't want to be where the consumers are, if you ask me. And that's why we're on the Corpsumer channel at this time, because we're merging the two. I realize that I do have to consume certain goods, but they are the goods that I need. I don't really consume things that I don't need. Again, so the consumer, and then you have the corporation, which I am as well. If you look up the definition of a person, that could be on another topic. But again, let's save that for another day. So market failure is one of the disadvantages of the market mechanism. Okay? Now, let's talk about monopolies. All right? In the real world, there is only sometimes really like one seller of a good or service. And because of the lack of competition, they control the price. They control the supply. They control the service, especially if this is a necessary good or services, So if it's a necessary good or service, consumers still have to buy it, even if the price is too high. And that's why you want to be a corpsumer. Put corpsumer in the comments. Let's go. This is why you want to be a corpsumer, because you would then be able to realize that you would be able to use your resources as a business, use your resources as a person, and only use the resources that you need from each entity. And now we're not wasting resources. Again, this is why we're here. Market mechanism. This is crazy, if you ask me. This is crazy. All right? So let's get back to it. The monopolies in real world. If there's only one company that's producing the most important good or service that you need, then they're going to control the price. They're going to control the service, right? So even if the price is too high, you're still going to have to buy it, like we said. So wastage of resources, right? In theory, there should be little to no wastage of resources as they are efficiently distributed, right? So if they're distributed properly, then there should be little to no waste. So because everything's going to the most important places. So, but in the real world, that's not always the case. Most firms, they value profit over an efficient process. And right now we're seeing the effects of that, this is a result, of wasteful resources and misallocated resources, if you ask me. So let's get back to it. Market mechanisms, market failure, and government intervention, right? As we said before, the main actors in the market are the consumers, the firms, aka the producers, and the owners of the factors of production, right? So whoever owns that land that the producers produce on, they're at the top of this food chain. And guess where the consumers are? So if you are a consumer and you consume everything that you see, if you need the new everything that you see, then you're, I don't want to say it, but you probably going to be part of this problem when you can easily become a producer, you know? So, and still be a consumer. But we would have to, you know, reallocate things at that point. So let's get into it, right? So as we said before, we said the main actors in the market, they're the consumers, the firms or the producers, and the owners of the factors of production. The market functions affect demand and supply. Okay? So this interaction between supply and demand, it ensures efficient allocation of resources while helping achieve market equilibrium. So we need balance. We need balance. This is why we can say that the market, the forces of supply and demand, right? It determines the best price and the best quantity for both the producers and consumers. That's what we got to focus on. Making sure that we can determine the best price for the producers and the consumers, right? So, however, one disadvantage of the market mechanism is that it can lead to market failure, okay? Now, market failure can be very scary, and I feel like it can be upon us at this time. Market failure, stock market failure, housing market failure. Is it upon us at this time? I don't know, right? Market failure is when there is an inefficient distribution of goods and services in the free market, right? Which means what? That the consumers, right, they're only consuming. They're not actually producing anything. So with that being said, there's monopolies being created and things are unequal, right? When this occurs, the government has to intervene, right? And the government intervention at this point is important because it's going to enable the correction of market failure and the achievement of social and economic goals, both as an economy and on a personal level. And I feel like that was more or less about what the Biden administration was getting at and what their commitment to allowing minorities to have an opportunity to obtain equity and transfer wealth, you know, and that is what this is about. So again, when this occurs, the government has to intervene and it's going to correct the market failures so that way we can actually achieve social and economic goals as an economy and on a personal level. So be the best version of yourself. That's what you should strive to be every day, based off of how the market mechanisms affect the consumer or how the market mechanisms affect the producer, you know, how it affects the person who has the land that the producers produce on, right? How it affects everyone. That's what this is about. So whenever you act like, oh, this don't got nothing to do with me, you might think so, but it really does. If it has something to do with them, then it has something to do with you. Simple as that. That's how the equilibrium swings. Wow. That's crazy. We just hit that right on the head together. That's crazy. All right. So now, when the government intervention, right, when they intervene, this can also have negative effects on the market. And this is known as government failure. Okay. So government failure, it's a situation where the government intervention in the economy, it creates an inefficiency and it leads to the misallocation of resources that we mentioned earlier, right? So market failure, government intervention, and government failure, they're key concepts that link to the market mechanisms, right? So let's get into it, okay? Key takeaways from the market mechanism, right? is that the market mechanism is a system of the market where the forces of demand and supply determine the price and quantity of goods and services traded, right? Okay, so the market mechanism also relies on the invisible hand to fix market malfunction, which means good people. We need good business owners to be willing to give you that net 30, to be willing to give you that net 7, that net 14, net 60, net 90. Ask for these invoice opportunities so that way we can start bartering our system, our goods and our services, and get them to the consumer at a price that is best for all of us. That's what this is about. So again, the market mechanism has three functions: signaling, giving incentives, and rationing. Okay? The market mechanisms allow the market to move on an equilibrium point and distributes resources efficiently. Okay? That's what this does. The mechanism allows the market to move to an equilibrium point and distributes resources efficiently. Just like a pendulum. When we talking about this, we talking about the pendulum. So, you know, the market mechanism has some disadvantages and some advantages. Okay? Some advantages is allocative efficiency, signals investments, and there's no government intervention. All right? And it also has some disadvantages, like market failure, like monopolies, like waste of resources, government intervention, right? Okay? So you got all those things, and then you have government intervention. Government intervention is used when the market mechanism fails to correct market failure. So, question: is the market failing? Is the government intervening? Government intervention is used when the market mechanism fails to correct the market failure. We're going to stop there. I'm going to say thank you for tuning in. It's your man, Wilk Vision. I wanted to share the market mechanism with you. And if you got anything to add, please feel free to put it down in the comment section. Please subscribe. Please like. Please share this. And let's get a hold of our positions in the mechanism and see exactly where we all fit. So let's get this thing going, man. I appreciate everyone again. Thank you for tuning in. Wilk, Corpsumer Inc., Lifestyles, Real Estate Channel, Real Estate and Lifestyles Channel. We appreciate it. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.
Corpsumer. I'm trying to get this business right for some years. But who really cares? Incorporated my company with 100 million shares. But who really cares? I taught myself to wholesale real estate in about a year. But who really cares? My trust revocable for the benefit of a chosen few. But who really there? Who really there? You?